They're still mad, but they're quieter about it. They're just quieter. Now, why are they quieter? No, who knows? Maybe they got laryngitis. And their heart is in a their heart is in a better place. Everybody in the administration has a heart of gold. The media, as always, they have one agenda, and that is to push whatever the Democratic Party wants. This headline from the New York Times this is a stellar headline from the New York Times. Really, full credit to the New York Times, full points. Here's the headline. Democrats, once outraged, take a quieter approach to migrant children. Yeah, that's a real headline from the New York Times. So you may have been wondering, you, American citizen, why it was that AOC was going down to the border and putting on a spontaneous white outfit and standing spontaneously in front of a chain link fence, spontaneously in front of a giant empty plaza, spontaneously in front of a child holding facility, and why a photographer was spontaneously there taking spontaneous pictures of AOC spontaneously crying spontaneously while looking spontaneously into camera. You may have been wondering why she was doing that, but she's got nothing to say. Like, she's not down at the border right now, and there's a multiple of the number of children being held in detention facilities by the Biden administration amidst a COVID pandemic that is still hitting all the people who are migrating over the border. You may have wondered, well, the New York Times has her answer. They're just taking a quieter approach, you see. They're still mad, but they're quieter about it. They're just quieter. Now, why are they quieter? No, who knows? Who knows? Could be maybe they got laryngitis. You never know. Maybe it's just that their hands were paralyzed. They couldn't type or something. But you just don't know. But they're quieter. According to Eileen Sullivan at the New York Times, House Democrats, who led an angry charge against the Trump administration's treatment of migrant children, have taken a much quieter tack since concerns began emerging about conditions at some of the emergency shelters set up by the Biden administration to deal with minors at the southern border. Where once only Twitter assaults and dressings down at House hearings would suffice, Democratic lawmakers are voicing worries privately to administration officials and the small staff at DHHS, which oversees the care. If problems persist, the lawmakers say they call again. Democrats say the contrast is for good reason. Former President Donald J. Trump's immigration policies were deliberately cruel, devised as a deterrent to would-be migrants, while the Biden administration is trying hard to deal with a bad hand. Oh, is that why? Oh, it's because you like the people in the White House. I mean, we can boil that one down, right? I mean, that's what they mean. We like the people in the White House, therefore they're good people. We don't have to yell at them. We just address it. We do a little back massage, and maybe we try and give Joe a can of Ensure, and maybe he'll do what we want. By the way, number of migrant children has not decreased since Joe Biden took office. That was in January. It is now nearly the end of May. According to Joaquin Castro, Democrat of Texas, the difference is you have an administration who wants to solve a lot of these challenges, and their heart is in their heart, it's in a better place. It's like in a jar on the shelf. Their heart, it's in a better place. Representative Veronica Escobar, Democrat of Texas, said she has so far been impressed with the administration officials working on the issue. They have a solid vision and a heart of gold. They're whores with a heart of gold, and they seem to want to do the right thing, which is different from what I experienced during the Trump administration, said Escobar. During the Trump administration, it was all excuses or, sorry, this is the way it is. I see. I see what's happening here. So now they just went quiet, but you know what? They went quiet for a reason. It's because Democrats have a heart of gold. By the way, what is the Biden administration actually doing? They're incentivizing massive illegal immigration across the border. Today, Washington Post. At the detention centers and county jails that the Trump administration once filled with immigrants facing deportations, thousands of beds are now empty. The immigration and customs enforcement officers that President Donald Trump lavished with praise have far less to do on the streets of the U.S. these days. Under the new Biden administration rules curtailing immigration enforcement, ICE carried out fewer than 3,000 deportations last month, the lowest levels on record. The agency's 6,000 officers currently average one arrest every 2 months. ICE, under President Biden, is an agency on probation. The new administration has rejected calls from some Democrats to eliminate the agency, but Biden has placed ICE deportation officers on a leash so tight, some say their work is being functionally abolished. Immigration advocacy groups and lawyers who wield significant influence in the Biden White House are pushing to eliminate more detention facilities and reduce deportations even further, despite a 20-year high in illegal border crossings. So you know why Democrats aren't worried about all these children being held in migrant facilities? Because they're very much in favor of the open border policy being pursued by the Biden administration. Once the Biden administration says to ICE, you cannot deport people who are crossing the border illegally, they're de facto issuing a come on in announcement. Free cupcakes. Cross the border. And then we're all supposed to be surprised when children swamp the border? Why should we be surprised about that? You have fully incentivized this. Just like defund the police causes crime, we will not deport anyone causes illegal immigration. Democrats know this, and they don't care. They're happy about it. That's why they're quote unquote quieter, because they like the broader agenda. They don't care that kids are being held in inhumane conditions on the border, because the broader agenda, which is to get more illegal immigrants into the country, is something that Democrats support. As always, real-time suffering means nothing to Democrats. It's the long-term utopian vision that means everything to Democrats. The Biden administration is preparing to release its first Department of Homeland Security budget request this week. Immigrant advocates want deep cuts to ICE. Deep cuts to ICE in the middle of a vast upswell in illegal immigration. Cut the agency responsible for deportations. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas announced plans last week to shutter 2 ICE detention centers. But he says he wants to reorient ICE, not shrink it. He said, I really am focused on it becoming a premier national security and law enforcement agency. I really want to elevate all of the other work ICE does, and also ensure that its civil immigration work is well focused in the service of the national security and public safety mission. So what exactly does that mean? Under Biden's new rules, deportation officers must seek written authorization from senior level supervisors to arrest anyone who is not a recent border crosser, a national security threat, or an aggravated felon. Okay, so if you've committed a misdemeanor, you're fine. If you commit a felony, but you're not considered an aggravated felon, you're still fine, so long as you came here a little while ago. Before placing a detainer on an immigrant in a jail or a prison, so these are people who have already been arrested, essentially asking another law enforcement agency to hold that person until ICE can assume custody, officers must also seek approval from one of the agency's most senior regional directors. So it used to be that automatically, if somebody was arrested and they were an illegal immigrant, ICE would put an automatic detainer request in with local law enforcement to say we can deport these people as opposed to keeping them in American jails. Now, Biden wants you to have to go to your supervisor to allow this, which effectively means a lot of people who are felons, people who have committed crimes in the United States, will not be deported. ICE officials, frustrated with the changes, describe a workplace environment where officers spend time doing paperwork, idling or working out, more fearful of facing reprimand for making an arrest than not making one. So basically, they're doing to ICE what they have done to the cops, and the predictable result is more crime. This is not a shock in any way, shape, or form, but don't worry, things are getting better, guys. According to the New York Times, Democrats are quiet because everybody in the administration has a heart of gold. So much golden-heartedness going on. By the way, a little bit of disparate treatment of crime. You notice there's a big story out right now about how a grand jury has convened in New York with regard to President Trump, and how Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, came into office pledging to go after Trump. She didn't say what crime he'd committed, but she was pledged to go after him, basically admitting that it was a political prosecution from the very beginning. The media are over the moon about law enforcement with regard to Trump, when we don't even know what crimes he supposedly has committed here. But when it comes to actual people committing actual crimes, the answer is defund the police, make sure that Kristen Clark, who's a radical with regard to the cops, is in charge of investigating the police and ensuring civil rights at the DOJ, and defund ICE. Remember that time when this was supposed to be a moderate administration? Yeah, I don't either. Because it was never going to be a moderate administration. That was always a lie that people were just telling you. End of story. It was all about that. And the media are playing the game, man. Whatever they can do to distract from the failures of this administration, from the there are multiple crises. They are administration created. There is a crime crisis. It is created by this administration and by the Democrats and by the media. There is a racial polarization crisis in the country fomented by the media. There's an illegal immigration crisis fomented by the media, fomented by this administration. But you know, it is the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd, so I guess we're not supposed to talk about any of that. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.